fantasy basketball mailbag. I'm sure that we'll talk about Giannis. I'm sure we'll talk about other things. I don't know. We'll find out. Let's see what you got in store, Michael Bolton.
Thanks, Josh. It's Michael Bolton here, and it's time for another episode of the Locked On Fantasy Basketball Podcast. Let's get to it.
Let's get to it, indeed.
You are Locked On Fantasy, your daily NBA fantasy podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello and welcome to the Locked On Fantasy Basketball Podcast, brought to you by Basketball Monster. My name is Josh Lloyd, and this entire show is fan fiction. I'm also the lead fantasy analyst at basketballmonster.com, and today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers can bet just $5, and if your bet wins, you get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. Head to FanDuel.com to get started. Thank you also for making Locked On Fantasy Basketball your first listen every day. We're free. We're available on all platforms. We are part of the #1 sports podcast network, the Locked On Podcast Network. Also, you guys have been sending these through to me, and I appreciate it. I saw David Locke, the founder of our network, post a thing saying that someone had over 6,000 minutes of listening on the Spotify Wrapped, and he said, I don't think anyone's going to beat that. I've had around 10 people already beat that. So if you have got your Spotify Wrapped with the minutes that you've listened to this show, please either send them to me on Twitter or reply to David's tweet. And as well, in terms of the YouTube, how many your YouTube Wrapped and how much you've listened, what percentage you're in. I asked people to throw me if they were the 0.1%. I had someone who'd watched over 600 shows this season, which is pretty impressive because I've only recorded 580. But hey, obviously that guy's the GOAT. So I want to see your responses. I want to blow all those other shows away. I want to show David that we have the best listeners. And so all of those things, direct him. You can just bombard his tweet if you want. Send him to me. I'll send him to him as well. I want to smash through that. All right. We are here doing a mailbag. Go. It is a mailbag. And you guys are bringing the questions. I saw an interesting question here. Where was it? Moma says, what makes you so sure there will be shenanigans with Michael Porter Jr.? It's not like he's winning them games. I don't know why that just came up. Apologize for the waiver wire line of the night from last night. Let's get rid of that. What makes me sure there'll be shenanigans with them? It's not like he's winning them games. It's early for me in the morning, Moma. They literally won yesterday, and Porter is out today. What makes me so sure? Reality, I guess. Now, at the moment, they're in the middle of a 5-game and 7-night stretch. We talked about that with the Nets and how there was going to be some risks of this, but Porter has now sat 2 of these back-to-backs in the 5-game and 7-night stretch, and they're actually starting to win games. What makes me so sure is that he's on a large contract. They've got him for multiple years. They'll be looking to flip him at something in the future, and they will want to make sure they are prioritizing getting a higher pick. He will not play games down the stretch. Whether he plays all of them or not, he will not. Like, the evidence is literally right here now in front of us. It's just right here. Ricardo, I'll answer your question by saying shut up and stop messaging. Okay. Is Jaren Jackson done blocking shots? Jaren Jackson's been done blocking shots for a few years now. He is never getting that 3-block season back. I think he's going to be improved from what he's currently doing, but at this point, we've got to consider him a low block big man, I would say. How much Locked On Fantasy Basketball Fab would you invest in Ryan Nembhard? Why would I tell you that if I'm in the same league? But in all fairness, I don't care about that part of it. How much would I invest? He's a tough one because I don't feel convinced at all because of the way that Jason Kidd has treated that position. He's had some really good games. He looks strong. But also Brandon Williams did that too. And who knows what's going to happen. They're going to change their mind a million times. How much would I throw out there? I'd be okay throwing 10% pretty easily out on him just because that level of high assist player is almost impossible to find. My likelihood of it working out is pretty low, though. Okay. Does Spoelstra finally have the nuts to push Ware into a larger or stated role? Could we please just stop this? Could we please stop it? All of the data suggests the Heat are better when Ware and Bam don't play together. Like, that is all the data has suggested that all season. We saw Kelly Ware have a really good game yesterday, but we also know that Erik Spoelstra does not want to play them together. All you have to do is go back and look literally the game before. And that's all you need to see. Like, it's, I don't know. People are so obsessed by Spoelstra's bad, he's doing this stuff. And guess what? They lost to Dallas. They lost the game. I'm not saying it's Kelly Ware's fault, But the idea of Kelly Ware playing more minutes than Bam Adebayo and them closing together did not win them the game. So I know you might have Kelly Ware on your fantasy team and he puts up good numbers, but he had 0 points in 17 minutes the game before. We just need to be like, I don't know. What are my thoughts on the Sleeper lock-in fantasy format? I'm glad you asked, WTJ Cookin 201. Sleeper sucks. It's a terrible format. You shouldn't use the app. They are stubborn, and there's some other stuff that I'm not so sure about them as an app. You shouldn't use Sleeper. I refuse to address using Sleeper in terms of rankings and things like that. It's a terrible format. Their default system is shocking, and it's useless, and you shouldn't use it. There you go. What are my thoughts on Colin Spencer? He's not a real player. So I don't know. Do you mean Cam Spencer? Maybe? I'm assuming that's who it is, not Pat Spencer. Colin Gillespie? Are you just mixing white guys together? Cam Spencer at the moment is probably worth having until Morant comes back, I would say. That would be my guess on Colin Spencer. Do I believe Jaylen Wells can hold 12-team value when Morant returns? He's not holding it now. So no, I don't. He's had a couple of good games in a row, but this entire time that Morant has been out, Jaylen Wells has not been a 12-team league player. He's had some really hot shooting games, 2 of the last 3 games or 3 of the last 4 or something like that. And that's it. So I don't believe he holds it now. I don't believe he'll hold it in the future. No. Ausar drop. Sure. But I've got no idea what league you're in, what size your league is, what format your league is. So I guess yes, but also absolutely not. See how that works as I hit the microphone? Guys, we need more information. But it brings me to a larger point that I'm not going to ignore your stuff here, Kills. Ausar is struggling. If I'm in a shallow format, a 130 deep league, I would consider Ausar Thompson a drop. There's other options they can use. Bigger stuff, love spacing. Ausar does not provide that. I'd even consider Toby Harris in a 130 deep league a drop because of the way that they're using these guys. Let's have a look. What are my thoughts on Ryan Nembhard? I just gave that. I guess you just saw that. What are my thoughts on Maxime Raynaud? Big guy, white guy, French guy, Kings guy, former Stanford guy. Is Josh Minot a 9-cat 16-team league ad? I think in a league that deep, we're talking 200 players deep, then yes, I would be rostering him in that sort of league for sure. That's a good question. What am I getting Obi for Christmas this year? I can't say it because he might hear me out loud. I actually have no idea. He'll get nothing probably because he doesn't realize what's going on. The whole Kings center merry-go-round is frustrating. You abandoned it, let someone else deal with the 3 King centers. That sounds like a Christmas carol. But I don't, is it a merry-go-round? I don't think it is. I think it's pretty clear that Raynaud is the guy getting the most minutes for 3 consecutive games. And even though he's not starting, he is the guy to grab it for now. It's not a chore. He is bad. We have seen him be bad. And Eubanks is getting phased out at the moment. I don't think that it's that merry-go-roundy, to be honest. Is Jordan Poole a points league hold in games cap? Well, in games cap, it always gives you more opportunities to stash guys. I don't know why at this point when a return should be coming, unless there's some news that I have not seen about Jordan Poole, and a return should be coming pretty soon, that you would drop him now. So I do not think that there's any reason to drop him now. How low can you buy on Garland and Jar? Should you send Bane for an even? That's not buying low. That is not buying low. Like, we're talking about Garland where people are considering dropping him. Morant's missing time and people have considered dropping him. Bane is playing really well at the moment, so Bane's a sell high. Like, Bane's providing top 40 value that I don't think he continues. That is the actual opposite of that. That would be a horrific decision to do that. How low can you do? Like, at the moment, for what Garland's providing, given how bad he was last game, honestly, the way people are reactive and goldfish memoried, you can throw a top 90 guy out there for both of these guys, I think, and at least try it. When will Kyrie be worth it to add on waivers? ESPN estimated return is first. I'll tell you what, ESPN has absolutely zero idea. They are making it up. They are pulling it out of their ass. Do not look at any of those ESPN estimated return dates. Sure, maybe he's back then. That's 10 months after a torn ACL for a 33-year-old guy. It seems unlikely to me. And even if he does come back, he's going to be very limited. I just think that in nearly every case, stashing somebody like this off a long-term injury costs you wins. Because it takes up an IL slot, meaning that when you get other injuries, you can't use that slot. And then when they come back, they'll be bad for a period of time. They'll be limited. Not like Russell Wilson. They'll be unlimited. They'll be limited in their minutes and production, and they'll sit some back-to-backs, and it just ruins your spot. So I'm just not interested in it. I'm just not interested in it. Should you sell high on Concadipple? Welcome to 2 weeks ago. Guys, the idea of a sell high. The guy has to be playing well. Knipple is not. Connie, I think, is 140th ranked player over the last 2 weeks. He was 30th 2 weeks before that. Your sell high window is done, mate. If you sell it now, you're not doing anything with it. This is why selling high is a tough concept, not only to pull off with other people, right? But for yourself, because you go, oh my God, this guy is so good, I must get rid of him. You have to have a mindset in a sell high trade that you are losing the trade in the short term. You have to believe that. You have to be okay with that. You can't wait for a player to be playing well and then for them to cool off and go, well, guess it's time for a sell high. Bro, that is finished. That is done. That's over. Selling high requires doing it at the peak of what they're doing. Giving away, you're going, oh, I really don't want to have to do this. I don't want to have to get rid of this bloke because he's cooking. That is how you do a sell high, not 2 weeks after they've cooled off. That doesn't work out, man. And that's, again, so do I think Knipple is going to be better from what he is at the moment? Yeah, I do. Because he's shooting like 30% from three instead of 50. The reality is somewhere in the middle. But the timing of all of this stuff, selling high and buying low, it's nearly all about timing and your negotiation skills and the gullibility of the other person. That's really what it's about. Get more of your questions in. We're going to come back and talk about them. Today's episode, though, it is brought to you by DoorDash. The NBA season is heating up, and DoorDash has found the perfect way to keep you in your bag all season long. Whether you're watching your favorite team, your favorite fantasy player, the highlights, whatever it is, DoorDash makes every game night even better. And DoorDash is the official on-demand delivery platform of the NBA. And they're celebrating with something called the bag drop. And every time I have to do one of these DoorDash ads, it feels like the day before someone scores 50 points, which is exactly what happened yesterday when the headmaster dropped 52. So every time a player drops 50 points in a game, DoorDash drops 50% off your order with Dash Pass the next day, and you're automatically entered for a chance to win the ultimate fan bag. We're talking player-inspired, drip-exclusive gear and stuff that you'd actually want. It's all there, but it's not just food that you can order from DoorDash. You can order snacks and socks and ice cubes and toothpaste, whatever it is that you need for a big night with the fellas. Next time someone goes off 50, yesterday, use the promo code NBA50 the next day, today, to get 50% off on DoorDash with Dash Pass, plus your shot at the bag drop. Dash Pass members only, 50% off up to $10 the day after a 50-point game with the promo code. Terms apply. No purchase necessary. Ends April the 13th. Open to US residents 21 or older. Visit DoorDashinYourBag.com for full details. DoorDash in your bag all season long. All right, we are back. We are doing mail bags. So we might as well get in here. Cactus says, what are my thoughts on Myles Turner this year? Why is he just chucking threes and not driving? Still a buy low. First time seeing Myles Turner play? That's what he does. Like this idea of like Myles Turner is tall and therefore he's going to be driving into the paint. Like Myles Turner doesn't do that. Now, Myles Turner's recent production is very bad. I do not understand Glenn Rivers is deciding to bench him for Jericho Sims, and I honestly do not think that will be a real thing that continues. I don't think we're going to get 20 minutes of Turner, 30 minutes of Sims. I don't think that's any sort of plan that Glenn is cooking up, and that's his solution to Giannis being out. That was just a one-game random scenario that I don't think has any basis in a reality as we move forward. But yeah, it's not good for Myles Turner at the moment. He is playing poorly. He looks sort of out of whack on this team. He's had some okay games, but his performances have not been up to scratch. There is no debating that. But you talk about, him, why is he just banging threes? Well, okay, there is something to talk about. He is taking more threes this season. There is no debate about that. He is taking more threes. So it is a different sort of scenario. Last season, he was at 50% of his shots from three. This season, it's 60. In the past, a couple of years before in Indiana, he was at 36. In the past before that, he was at 50. But this is the highest season he's had in terms of threes. But it's not like his game was just all working down low in the post. He attempted threes, a lot of them. In fact, I think for large portions of Turner's career, most people are like, bro, you are a good three-point shooter. Just take more of them. Why are you taking so few when your other stuff is inefficient? It is frustrating. I do think he's going to be better than what he is at the moment. But, there are some concerns here, obviously. 9Cat, would you trade DD? Who is DD? For Vucevic? Well, I wouldn't trade for Vucevic, but I guess there's two ways of looking at this. DD, no idea who it is. So when you're going to use player nicknames or initials, make them so that that's something that someone's heard of before. Is DD DeMar DeRozan? Is DD Dyson Daniels? Is DD Gregorius? Who's DD? Anyway, if it's DeMar DeRozan, yeah, I want Vooch. If it's Dyson Daniels, that's debatable depending on what my team looks like. They're pretty even to me. What are we doing with DeRozan? He's becoming overly frustrating. I don't think he can do anything. Honestly, what can you do? At the moment, he's in and out of rotations. Not in and out of rotations. He'll play 33, then 23. I had him very far down rankings. I didn't draft him in any leagues. I had him ranked about 90th or 100th heading into this season. That is looking to be a good move from me. The code, by the way, someone asked about DoorDash, NBA50 to get your order in today. NBA50. Yeah, like, what can you do? Honestly, until there's some sort of permanent resolution, you just got to ride with it. If someone wants to give you any top 100 player for DeMar DeRozan, you would do that in a trade. You would do that. Do I see Moussa Diabate as a must-add in most leagues, given he appears to have won the starting role? Okay, couple of things there. He was already a must-add player. He was already a must-roster player before that. And one game as a switch into the starting center does not mean he has won the starting center role. That's not what that means. It was a change, absolutely. And then Ryan Kalkbrenner played more minutes. Right? We need to be very cautious about the way that we phrase things in our own mind or even how we say them out loud. I don't think he appears to have won the starting job. He just got put into the starting lineup for one game. I don't know whether he stays in that lineup. It might help that Kalkbrenner now hurt his ankle, but I'm not sure. But anyway, irrespective of that part of it, Diabate's been a must-roster guy anyway. Do I personally ever try to initiate trades in leagues? Yes, no, why? No, I don't. And the reason is, A, I don't have time. I'm in like 8 or 9 leagues. I work 12 to 15 hours a day, producing content, watching games, writing about it, adjusting projections. I actually don't have time to sit there and micromanage my leagues and micromanage my teams. So absolutely not. I don't think I've initiated trade in about 4 years. I can talk about the value of players because I'm not one of those people who, in any sort of fantasy landscape across any sort of sport, whatever it is, who will sit there and go, well, actually, I don't know much about this guy. I don't have him on any of my teams. Or I've got this guy on my teams, so I really know what he's up to. I don't do that. I pay equal attention to every single player in the entire NBA. And I know people will be like, oh, Josh is biased. He just likes this guy and doesn't like this guy. This is a side note, but yeah, of course. Like, that's called having an opinion. Like, if there's a player that I like and think he's better than the other guy, that's not bias. That's just me liking the guy better. Me thinking he's a better player or thinking he's a better fantasy guy. Like, that's how that goes. So I know I don't initiate any trades. I don't have the time to micromanage my squads. I can't do it. There's literally no time. DD is Darius Garland. Of course it is. Makes sense. And that's obviously a joke. Duka Doncic. Probably true as well. Dondre Drummond. Is LeBron a buy low? I mean, sort of. But look, it depends what you want to view him as. Again, when you're talking buy lows, right, or sell highs, you've got to have an understanding of a couple of things. What is the player's current value? LeBron's not good. He's not playing well. But then you've got to look at what do you perceive the player's value is going to be when all is right? There'll be some people, and this happened in the preseason, where I said I am not taking LeBron in the top 50. I didn't even have it, even before the sciatica injury came out, I didn't have him in the top 25. And people said, you're crazy. He's a first-round guy. You got to take him in the 30s or the 20s. I said, absolutely no way. I'm not doing this. I will not pick him in these areas. So when we're talking about what your perceived value is, do you believe that LeBron is a top 20 guy rest of season? Do you, like me, believe that he's barely a top 50 guy rest of season? Because then the buy low discussion becomes different. So if let's for example say that he's the 100th ranked player right now. This can go for anybody. We're talking LeBron now. This could be applied to anybody. Let's say LeBron is the 100th best player at the moment. I think he can be the 50th best player. So to me, on that one, a buy low would be throwing a top 75 guy out there. Sort of split in the middle. It's probably not going to work. You might see LeBron as a 100th best player right now, but you might think he's a top 20 player. So for you, throwing a top 45, top 50 guy is still a buy low because you believe he's going to beat that number by 2 rounds. And that's where you can have success in buy lows and sell highs, by working out what you think the value will become. Because the value, what they're currently at the moment, is pretty much undebatable unless you want to look at straight 9K rankings, and in that case, you got no idea. But where you can find that window of value is, where do you see the player going? Like if Keegan Murray, who was the 14th ranked player over the last 2 weeks, if you think that he's a top 30 guy, then your sell high window is somewhere in the middle. If you think he's a top 80 guy, then the sell high window expands and you can take different players back in order to be able to win the trade. I hope that makes sense. Back in the day, Corey says, you're able to do super chats. Why did that change? It was a decision from Locked On management that they weren't having super chats on the channel. That's simple as that. Do I think that come March, Alex Sarr will be playing or sat down? I think that if Alex Sarr is injured, he won't play. And I think if Alex Sarr is healthy, he will play. I don't think there'll be shenanigans with him. Will I shave my head beard for 100k subscribers? I did that every year for like 3 years. I don't know what the story is there. I'm not going to shave my head. It took a long time to actually grow my hair back. Beard, sure, there's no problem with that. But it's all about the nickname show, isn't it? Is Cam Johnson must roster 14-team ESPN points? If Cam Johnson is somehow available in a 14-team points league at the moment, then I don't know what's going on. But yes, he's very clearly a must roster at the moment. He's benefiting from Gordon and Brown being out, and that's bumping his minutes way up. All right. Do I prefer Reed Shepherd over Malik Monk or someone with similar minutes concerns that has high upside if they pump him full? Sports Gundy. The Gundy name is interesting there, and then you phrase it with the pump him full. But shout out to some of Gundy's proclivities. Or maybe not shout out, maybe absolute condemnation, but whatever. Yeah, I do prefer Reed Shepherd. But look, the thing is, both those guys have minutes concerns, don't they? At this point, I think Reed Shepherd and Malik Monk are very clear, both must-roster players. I don't know that I trust the Kings that they have realized that Monk needs to play big minutes and he is better than Schroeder and Westbrook and arguably Zach LaVine. I don't know if they've figured that out, but it is trending that way. Where to find cat rankings taking punts into cat? Zeet, you'd think that I actually just manipulated this question in here, but I didn't. I don't know if you're aware, but I am the lead fantasy analyst at basketballmonster.com, and you can find them there. What do you think we do all day? We'll come back with more questions. Is Josh the GOAT? Absolutely not. Is DeJounte Murray worth stashing? I don't think so. I'm just not a big long-term injury stash guy. It just usually does not work out. Winter Cleve says, notice me. Hey, going, mate? How are you? You good? You're noticed. We'll come back. More questions in a sec. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. NFL Sundays move fast. One big play, and suddenly everything feels different. That's what makes live betting with FanDuel so exciting. You're not just watching the game, you're reacting to it in real time. With FanDuel, you can place bets as the action unfolds. Every drive, every momentum swing, and every highlight moment. Live betting is at its best when that game starts to shift. You see a receiver get hot, the defense puts the clamps on. You see a turnover that flips the momentum. FanDuel lets you jump into that moment with spreads and money lines that live adjust instantly, plus the player props update as guys heat up. And you can also check out all the NBA odds at the moment. You've got the Thunder as minus 115 favorites to win the NBA Cup. The Lakers next at plus 600. The Knicks at plus 650. The Magic at plus 650. The Magic being equal third favorite. Let's forget the Raptors. They're at plus 1,500. That's not going to happen. I think the Magic should be higher favorites than that. Plus 650. They should be second favorite to me, the Magic. But you can check all that out over at FanDuel. And if you want to be right in the middle of that action this season, visit FanDuel.com and place your NFL live bets and your NBA live bets all season long. FanDuel, the game moves fast, and so can you. All right, we're doing, what do you call it? Mailbags, that's it. Question from Winter Cleve, who wanted to be noticed and asked a question, what's the parlay of the day? I think you got the wrong channel, man. I don't do that, and I do not suggest betting parlays. Ever. They are negative EV bets. Do not do them. And we never do the parlay of the day here. Can I include 8-team players in your shows? What does that mean? Like, do you mean me talking about whether they're adds or drops for 8 teams? Like, sure, but no. Actually, you know what? No, I can't. I can't do 10s and 12s and deep leagues and dynasties and points and categories. It's too much, man. It's just too much. For an 8-team league, we'll just use this as a proxy. If I say top 100, must roster player. If they're not top 100, then they're not. Is this my full-time job? It absolutely is, Mr. Gaming Glorious. It is my full-time job. You'd think I'd be better at it, wouldn't you? Where is the Mailbag Kingy? He's only on here every second week. He's got too many more mailbags to play with during this week off. What are my thoughts on Zach Edey? Big guy, Canadian, which makes him suck, obviously, and plays for the Grizzlies. Do you hold Porzingis until we hear anything new? I am. Yeah, I'm not dropping Porzingis. I know that people have. I am 100% not dropping Porzingis. Which injuries is more fake, Kuminga's or Giannis? I don't think either are fake, honestly. Yeah, if I had to, though, it would be Kuminga. But yeah. Is Aldama a drop in 9 cap? That's a good question. And by good question, I mean bad question. Yes, he's a drop. No, he's not a drop. If you're in a 10-team league, easy drop. In a 12-team league, probably yes. In a 14-team league, absolutely not. See how these go? This is where we talk about the context that is required with anything that you talk about in anything in life, honestly, if you want to get philosophical. But when we're talking fantasy, context is important with anything. Thoughts on Kobe White? Plays for the Bulls. What to do in the NBA offseason? I won't say that. I can't say that. What do? I work, but I go away. I take time off. I watch baseball. And that's it. Honestly, that's what I do. I take time off and then I start preparing for the next season. Is it time to move on from Coward in 12-team leagues? Yes. What about Big Colk? I don't know about Kalkbrenner. His replacements include Raynaud, who I would add, McCain, who I wouldn't, Fears, maybe, Tyson, yes. I would hold Kalkbrenner over those guys, but any of those guys apart from McCain are easy adds to me over the chicken. Nickeil Alexander-Walker and Dyson's production in Trae's return, 12-10 points. You've got an idea of this. We've seen it already. We've seen Trae Young play games. You can go look at their production in those games. It's not 100% a proxy, but you know what's going to happen. You are going to see Nickeil Alexander-Walker lose minutes. You are going to see Nickeil Alexander-Walker lose usage. You are going to see Nickeil Alexander-Walker lose assist opportunities. You're going to see Dyson Daniels lose minutes because some of the minutes that he would be getting are going to go to Nickeil Alexander-Walker. You're going to see Dyson Daniels lose usage. You're going to see Dyson Daniels lose assist opportunities. So you're going to see both of these guys' production drop maybe as much as 20%. I don't know why I put that question up again because I already answered it. No, the answer is no, I'm not the GOAT. What are my thoughts on Keyshawn George? Good question. Should you sell? Why would you do it right now? Again, why would you sell Keyshawn George right now when he is putting together the worst stretch of the season? Guys, this stuff is, I think, relatively elementary for any sort of thing that you're doing in life, but playing fantasy sports. Keyshawn George was cooking. We had him on the Sell High show as a top 20 player saying this is not holding. He's still going to be good, but he is not going to do this. And you need to understand that when someone is playing at the best of their ability, you need to move on to get someone with more consistency at that level. When someone starts to struggle and you go, man, this guy, what do I do with him? I don't want him on my team. Hey, does anyone else want him for a premium price? Of course they don't, because they're seeing the same thing as you are. So what you are doing is facilitating somebody else's buy low in that scenario. So is he a sell? No. Is he a guy to acquire for cheap because someone like you might be viewing him that way? Then yes. But when players are going through slumps and you look at it and you go, he's shooting 30% from the field, 20% from three, and he's had foul trouble in 4 of the last 5 games. I'm making that up about George, but some of it is true. Then you go, well, all of this stuff, not all of it, but a lot of it is about looking at it and going, do I really believe that this man is going to be a 30% shooter as we move forward? What are the odds of it getting better or getting worse? 99% gets better? Then we're good. Then it's going to get better. The same as like the Myles Turner, Jericho Sims thing. In reality, do you think that we're going to sit here and Jericho Sims is playing 30 minutes and Myles Turner is playing 20? And you go, no, of course not. Well, there you go. There's your answer. That's how I think we should look at all this stuff. You like that, Yuri? About this sell high, buy low? Because it is important because, again, it goes against our nature some of the time. We see someone on our team and they're struggling and go, man, they're really bad. I got to get rid of them. The other person thinks the same thing. You have to understand in a sell high, you are going to get pain in the short term. You are going to lose out to make it successful. The idea is, if we give random numbers, you've got a guy that you believe is a top 70 player. He is a top 20 guy at the moment, largely due to injuries. You sell him and get a top 40 guy back, and he keeps going as a top 20 player for 2 weeks, and you go, oh my God, I lost. And then he's the 100th best player after that, and then you've got your guy who comes in as the top 40 guy for the next 12 weeks. So you win long term. You have to, because otherwise, how do you sell it? How do you convince someone else to go, hey, I got this guy right now. He's really good. But how about you give me someone that's just better straight up? And you get nothing out of it. You just give me the better player. Like, it's just not a realistic way to do it, I think. But maybe, you never know. Yeah, never know. Is trading Nickeil Alexander-Walker for... you know what, Ricardo? I would have answered that question, but it's you, so I won't. The answer is yes. Cedric Howard is a drop in 12-team formats. Purple grapes or green grapes? Good question. I say the majority of the time, K. Kim, that I do eat grapes, they are green grapes. But I would, if I had to pick... That's a good question. If I had to pick, I would probably go red. Or black grapes. I think most people will call them black grapes. Do you call them red? How are you adjusting your valuations? Oh, this is an interesting question. How are you adjusting your valuation models for players on teams experimenting with faster pace this season? Does the increased possession count create reliable fantasy value or just statistical noise? Good question. The way that our projections work at Basketball Monster is we have a back end where I go through and every player's stats are there, right? But of our projections on players, I do based on per 100 possession stats. And then we have an overall figure that I paste onto a team with team pace. So I do all the projections and they stay at a similar rate, right? We make adjustments based on what's happening. But like for Miami, for example, they rolled at a 99 pace last season and they're at 107 this season. So I saw it and went, okay, that's interesting. So I bumped them to about 102. And they just kept rolling. I went, okay, so now that team's pace, the overall pace of the team is up to 107. That's what they're rolling out for the season. So I've got their rest of season pace projection at 106, I think, because a historical trend that happens in the NBA is that teams start a higher pace, and by the end of the year, they've dropped from their first 2-month pace versus their end-of-year pace is usually 2 possessions lower. So you try and sort of hit, like if they're going 107 now, I'll put their rest of season 106 and then bring it down as we go. But all of that in the projections and the way that I value them, pace, like all the projections are put there, and then we just put a slather, a layer of pace over the top to adjust those numbers. So that is how our adjustments are made on that. And then when we do daily projections, we look at the projected pace of this team, the projected pace of that team. We merge them together. We look at the projected total from the Vegas odds of that game to give ideas as well and mix that to create daily projections. That's how we do it. Alejandro, that is probably, it's a good question, but about switching to full-time fantasy basketball. It's probably an off-season one, but why? It's way more fun. It's way more interesting than my previous job. Were the skills applicable? Not really. Like, I guess sort of. There's a scientific background to what I did, and I think I approach this stuff with a scientific background as well. But it's just a lot more enjoyable. So, like, honestly, simple as that. A lot more. Okay, let's keep going. What's the timing here? Yeah, we've got a couple more questions we can get through here. Should we sell high on Zach Edey? That's a good question. There's a lot of sell high discussions here. This, again, is probably a different sort of sell high. Zach Edey is rolling as like let's say conservatively a top 30 player at the moment. I think that's fair about what he's currently doing. I actually think he can stay a top 30 player. But I have seen people talk about this and posts and comments about Zach Edey and people saying, yeah, I think realistically he can be a top 70 guy rest of season. Right, so meaning that at the moment he's rolling top 30. I think he can stay top 30. But a general consensus seems to be that he can't. So if you'd sold him for a top 50 guy, I think that's a bad move. Now, if someone saw Zach Edey at the moment as a top 30 guy and goes, I think he can be better, and you get a top 20 player back, then that's interesting to me. But it's also about, like I said, it's all about what is the start point, what is the end point. And me holding my hands, that is not a measurement of anything. More like that, all right? Start point, end point. What's your start point? What are they currently? Where do you think the hands are wrong? I'm doing it in reverse. Start point, where are they currently? Where do you think they go to? Zach Edey, top 30. I think top 30. No sell high. And even if it was, I don't think I don't think their general consensus is that he can do that. So, no. No, he's not. I don't think. Are we seeing the ceiling for Jeremiah Fears? Of course not. He's an 18-year-old rookie. He legitimately, I think he turns 19 like tomorrow. It's bloody close. So no, we are definitely not seeing the ceiling. Do I think he'll still be useful in pool returns? He's barely useful now, to be honest. He's a fringe guy at the moment. Do you mean ceiling for this season? I'd still say no. I think that he'll start to come into his own more in February, March. The complicating factor is going to be what the hell happens when DeJounte Murray returns. So I think his actual production will improve. His role will probably dip through January and surge in March is my guess. That's a guess, though. Now, that's a good point. You're going to unsubscribe, so you expected me to give fantasy basketball advice, but I'm giving you fantasy basketball advice. I think that's fair. Totally fair. Is Ryan Nembhard a real steal waiver wire ad for 10-team locked-in fantasy sleeper app? Yeah, you don't use that app, though, do you? It's bad. Yeah, you're playing on the worst format possible. In a 10-teamer, I don't know. I guess it would depend on who you drop. I don't mind adding Nembhard, though. I honestly, I think his value is way higher in a category league than a points league, though. And Sleeper, of course, has no idea what they're doing. I think in a 10, it would depend who you drop, but it's absolutely worth considering. It's worth considering. A lot of Nembhard questions, obviously, because he is the flavor of the moment. Is it time to stash DeJounte Murray? No. The time for me to stash DeJounte Murray will be never. I'm just not going to do it. I'm just not going to do it. Will Keegan Murray be the most valuable King rest of season? That's an interesting question, Daniel. At the moment, he is. I still think it will be Sabonis. I still think it'll be Sabonis. But wouldn't be shocked if Murray is second. Or they're very close. That is a tough one. That's a good one. Noah Clowney is must roster. He's been must roster for 4 weeks. Welcome to the show for the first time. Have we talked about Raynaud? Yes, we have, but I'll talk about him again for you Normers before we get out here. Yes, you should add Raynaud. I know there's only one game this week, but they do have 3 next week. I think he's worth having a crack at, and we just see where that goes. Yes, Grayson Allen is a must roster player. Is it smart to get rid of Trae Young? No, it's not. Why would you do that? Why would you wait 4 weeks with a knee injury and then we get close to the end and go, oh, better get rid of him. Better get rid of a potential top 15 player right now. No, it's the opposite of smart. How long is Brandon Miller out for? I don't know. Is he playing the next game? I don't know. I don't think he's out long term. I think he'll be back, if I had to guess, and I do, I guess, because you asked me, I think he'll be back this week. End of this week. But what is also back, unfortunately for you, is the end of the show. Or maybe fortunately, because you don't want to hear me talk anymore. But you can just log off. I'm the one that has to keep talking. Thumb up the video, double bang it, leave your comments, tweet those minutes, Spotify wrapped and YouTube wrapped out to David Locke. Tweet them to me, post them on Instagram, post them in stories. I want to see them. I want to make all of the listeners to other shows on the #1 sports podcast network, Locked On Podcast Network, I want to make them embarrassed. I want to show these to the hosts and go, you think you've got good fans? All your fans are losers. Look at these guys. Look at all my great men and women of the fantasy basketball world that smash you guys out of the water. Guys, we are done here. And so will they after we put them into the ground with all of our minutes. See ya. Stay tuned next week for the Mailbag show where I explain why Sleeper sucks.